Poornima, welcome so much. Thank you so much for being here today and doing this video with us. We are thrilled to have you. And I would love to start off by having you introduce yourself, your name, when you graduated from GW, and what you're doing now.
Sounds good. Um, like you said, I'm Poornima Joshi, and I graduated from GW from the Master in Science Data Science program in 2020. And currently, I'm a lead data scientist and data science manager at Data Society Group that's based out of Washington, D.C. The office is pretty close to the university, actually. So I started there as an intern and finally had the position to convert it to full time there. And that's where I am for the past 4 years. So we develop, as a part of Data Society Group, a lot of AI-based solutions. We deploy them to various industries. And currently, I'm working for a large utility company based out of Northern Virginia. And we do lots of different activities like AI-based solutions, data science solutions, data engineering for them as consultants for the utility company. So that's a little bit of what we do. And also we have a training, data science upskilling training program as a part of Data Society Group that I'm a little bit of part of, but not majorly. But that is another side of business that our company has.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks again for doing this. And we're going to go ahead and jump into our questions. Okay. So the first question is, in your experience, what are the must-have top three, could be four or two, skills needed by somebody looking to be successful in the industry? What do you think employers get excited about seeing on a resume?
I think specifically when we apply for data science program, like data science positions, first thing is to think about what type of positions, like when we graduate, there's data engineer, there's data science, there's a data analyst, and business analyst, and things like this. So specifically for data science, I would think that programming proficiency and typically Python, that's very popular, but R is not unheard of. So I've seen lots of people that have a strong R background and a little bit of SQL skills. I think the programming proficiency in Python and SQL or R and SQL, combination of this is like the most basic requirement for any job position. And the second thing, apart from programming proficiency, is that statistical and analytical skills. So a little bit of statistics that we've studied in class, a little bit of application on like testing, A/B testing, and that kind of statistical background is really nice to have. Especially, you can talk a little bit more and base all of your models, results, explain them much better. So that's where I think that's an important one. And finally, I think communication, that's like the key, like we always say. And I know it's easier said than done. Communication to like be able to deliver the ideas that you're thinking about as effectively as possible, which has been which is like a big learning curve. It's not something we can pick up overnight. So we think about how we want to present our ideas and then be able to execute them. So I think these three are the top skills I believe is a good one for a data science position.
Wonderful. When you talk about communication, are you talking about both oral communication and also some kind of, whether it's in writing or a dashboard or some kind of written product?
Yeah, I think a combination of both. So very often we're talking to non-data science or non-technical people about technical ideas. So when we present like complex charts and dashboards, we should be able to give in a little bit of context, background of what this chart is talking about, how are we going to make use of it, how to get some insights. So provide some examples of them maybe in the dashboard, or while you present them, you like show them this is how they can utilize the tool that you've built or the visual that you have built. So all of both written and oral communication, as well as the being very transparent and honest about the whole process of while we are developing this, not just about the end result, but how am I going to break this problem into, what are my mini milestones, when am I going to accomplish this, and be able to tell them, hey, I know I said I'm going to deliver in 10 days and we are at the 10th day mark. This is where I am. These are some roadblocks and this is where I'm heading. So I think this kind of regular contact building personal relationships with the people that you work with matter the most. And it comes across strongly for us to get more opportunities. Like people like to work with you, they give you more interesting work to do, and it
Right.
goes a long way.
Okay, I'm going to ask another follow-up question, which I did not give you in advance, but along these same lines, when we're talking about skills, a lot of times our students are showing their skills in the project experience section. They may not have had work experience in the data science field. When they're showcasing a project and talking about skills, how detailed do you think they need to be in every step they took to do their project versus why they did the project, what's the problem, and what was maybe the solution that they came up with? Because I think it's hard for students to know how deep. Sometimes students get very detailed in every single step they took in a project. And should they be doing that?
If you're talking about it in the resume, honestly, like I know recruiters, managers, they don't take more than 30 seconds to a minute to look at this resume. So writing more does not really help the case unless you have something that really stands out. So when you're talking about data science projects, there has to be one big highlight point. Let's say I'm working with like 5 terabytes of data, or maybe that's an example. That's something, okay, it at least shows that you are able to process or handle, or you have experience doing large amounts of data, or maybe a brand new model that you just implemented from a paper. So you read something in the paper and you implemented, maybe that's a highlight. Honestly, like other details, if everybody's doing this and we're also doing this, then it's not such a big deal to highlight. Writing that you have lots of projects is good, on that is necessary, but not the details of it. They won't read it. They'll be like, okay, cool, 5 projects. That's kind of how it goes. Like, move on next.
Okay.
Next resume.
That's really helpful. So maybe a little bit of an overview of what the problem was that you solved and what the resolution was, and if there's some specific skill that really is distinguishing or specific factor that's distinguishing, but not 7 bullet points with every single library that you used and every model that you created. And
There could be a link in the resume that will go to a different page, and then if somebody's interested, they'll click in it and go look there, but not really on the resume itself.
got it. Very, very helpful. Thank you. Okay, next question that I actually told you about in advance. What are some of the ways that students can become more familiar with the various data science related fields? You talked about, the trifecta, right? The data analyst, the data science, the data engineer. But what are ways for people who don't have experience in the field to get to know what it means to work in those fields? Are there like conferences or meetups or associations, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think conferences, like you said, are conference and meetups are a big thing. So Pi Data, HackerX, meetups from like I think DC, Women in Data Science. These are some of these groups that I think are really helpful to be a part of. At least you can listen in on what other people are doing. So that definitely helps. In addition to that, I think there is there are groups on Slack. I know like DC based specific groups that are focusing only on data science in the DC area. And they're like local groups that you could reach out to or just follow up, or like just follow passively. That's even helpful to see what other people are doing. That it's more to become familiar with data science, but then maybe just to getting to know, like talking to other people in these conferences will help you get an idea of what each of these profiles do. But I know as a new student, it's very hard to get like the segregation. And to be very honest, in real life, there may not be a real good segregation. Even though I might have a data science title, I do a lot of data engineering work. So that doesn't necessarily mean I only do data science. So that's kind of the mindset we also have to break down into, that even though I have a certain title, I may not be exactly doing the same things that my title says.
I think you bring up a good point about titles. One of the things that we talk with students about is the title doesn't always mean all that much, and it's not uniform across different organizations. We certainly have students who are data science titled positions who are doing data analytics and say, I'm not really doing anything that I would call data science. And we
Yeah.
have people who have titles like business analyst, but also, research analyst and all kinds of different titles. And one of the things we suggest is go to ChatGPT and say, okay, give me a bunch of different titles that do this kind of work so that you're not searching only for data science or data analyst. And then look at the job description to see, okay, but what are they actually doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be very tricky because sometimes they'll title it as data analyst and then you might be doing Excel, which is a very common thing that I've seen. But like you said, look up while you talk or while during the interview, you'll know a little bit more like based on what they're saying that what does this position actually entail. You'll get a feel for the position itself.
Great, thank you. And yes, I get a lot of questions. Is it really worth it to go to meetups and meet people? And the answer is yes, it's worth it.
It is. It definitely is. It doesn't feel like when we go first, it feels like, oh, I'm just going and listening and coming back. But we never know how passively this kind of information affects us. Sometimes it gets you drawn in deeply into a certain topic, and you having an expertise or building an expertise in a certain area definitely helps. I think that's something I'd like to highlight that you can pick anything. Like I'm a Power BI expert or I'm a Tableau expert. That's like a basic skill though, but it's a really good skill to have. Like you're good at something and you can do X, Y, Z. That's a really good expertise to have.
Excellent, thank you, and can set you apart. Great. Okay, if you were starting out now, what are some of the things you would do to break into this field? What are some strategies that you would do or recommend that somebody do to get their foot in the door? Because it is definitely a challenging job market out there.
Yeah, like I said, start with one expert field. Like I have one highlight showcase project that I build that I'd like to talk about all the time. This is like my pet project. This is something I'm good at. I know in and out of it. That's the first piece that to build interest and develop one. Second is like I think it helped me in the past. So I went to the Grace Hopper conference. That's like for women and main focusing on careers for women. And that's where I found my first job at PwC. So I really recommend going to that one specifically and also other types of conferences where they hire actively for new grads. So people just out of college with no experience. That's something I think is a good one. Be a part of that community. Like I said, I volunteer for Indian Women in Computing right now. And that helps me build that community feeling that I'm connected to other people very similar to my background and also all over the country in the US. So they understand where I come from as well as they're in places or positions where they can help me. So finding mentors, sponsors, this kind really helps. So if I would do, I would definitely identify somebody to be a mentor. And often we get lost of what's the goal of a mentor, like what are we really expecting from a mentorship, what do we want. So maybe like the questions that we have, like what kind of different positions are there, what do I focus on, how can I prepare. These are some of the questions that the mentors will ask you, and then they'll have a check-in like maybe once a month, once in every 2 months, and then you can update how far have you gotten, like what changed from last month to this month, and what are the steps that you're taking, and build an action plan. And then there is this red book, Cracking the Data Science Interview. I recommend that one. That's a good one. I read that back when I was trying to get a job, so that's another one that I would do if I'm trying to get a job now. The last one, not my favorite, but I think is also necessary, is to do some amount of lead code. Unfortunately, even though data science is not directly related to software engineering or programming, there's often in most large companies, the first round is a coding round, and building the skills from lead code definitely helps and makes you feel confident that you can solve this kind of problems. It becomes like a screening round, even though it's not necessary. It's changing a lot, the field, like back in the day when I was looking for a job versus now. it has definitely come a long way for data science specific types of interviews versus software engineering, but there's still a programming round that it always pops up every now and then. So having that one is a good thing.
That's a lot.
And
Oh, keep going, please.
oh yeah, I was just going to say there's Coursera, edX, and Udacity and all that. But universities already have a degree, and I don't know if another class would help too much.
So it sounds like a theme here as far as breaking in and learning more about the field is other people and not being isolated in your room by yourself, just applying for jobs, which is easier. Understandably, it's easier to just keep hitting apply and you have the satisfaction that you hit apply and you applied. But it sounds like maybe you do some of that, but there needs to be some reaching out to others because it's not a field where you just sit in your room and do something and never talk to anybody. And so it sounds like it, sounds very collaborative as a career, and getting a job can be a collaborative kind of a process as well. Am I getting that right?
That is absolutely true. And also, once you hit apply, how many calls did you get back? What types of companies did you get a call back from? And if you made it to the next round and did not make it further through, then that's when you go back to the mentor or the people that you said, the community, and ask, can we do a repeat of what went wrong and analyze of how can this be done differently to make it more successful? More often than not, we find solutions right there that, oh, these are the questions that I did not answer well, or this is something they were probably looking for. And no, most companies don't give feedback, but we could build feedback from this community. That's a way to get through.
Wonderful. I love the idea of community. I think it's intimidating for students when they think about it, but once you start reaching out and becoming part of it, it's really rewarding and makes it a lot more fun and also a lot easier to get something. Excellent.
I know it's hard. Like I always talk about this, that like you said, students go ahead and reach out to people on LinkedIn. Like, why would people answer you? Like, it's time, right? Like, people don't answer you. But that's exactly why we would go to a conference, meet someone in person. When we go in front of a person, like a live versus cold messaging somebody on LinkedIn, that does not work out just as much. So when you see somebody, when you talk to someone, that's how we hunt for this community group that you talk to, and identify like 3 or 4 people that you can rely on and ask questions. Hey, I have this interview coming up. Can you give me a mock interview of this round? And that's probably how people have always talked to me, and that's how I went ahead. And I have like 3 or 4 people, sometimes even peers, honestly, like they're looking for a new job, I'm looking for a new job, and we're like comparing notes against each other. Oh, did you get a call back from them? What did they ask? And then did you get a call back from them? What did they ask?
I love that. That's terrific.
Yeah.
A little bit of crowdsourcing. I think
Yeah, a
that's,
little bit of crowdsourcing. It helps a big deal. I never thought about it that way, but it does definitely help.
oh, I love that advice. That's terrific. So to close out, what specific action and you may have already answered this, but let's do it in a little bit of different context. What do you think you've done that's been most impactful on your general career advancement? Has it been having this group of people to talk to? Has it been reaching out? Has it been doing um, a certain kind of research all along about different types of positions? Like what kind of guided you through doing different things?
Like I said, for to begin with, I did build a specialization in NLP. So that was my first thing that I started. So I started to say that, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I like. Even though I'm open to ideas of doing other things, this is my portfolio, how I work through some of the text analysis problems that I have, and this is what I did. Second is using this, I tried to get internship, or I tried to get a position through conferences. I did believe that they're a little bit more open to new grads, new people, like people with like zero experience. That's when, because they come with funding, they come with the purpose to a conference, they want something. So that's how I went ahead. And then, like I said, networking, LinkedIn was great. I look at how other people are marketing their profiles. I talk about it like marketing. That's kind of how people do it, marketing their profiles and how are they positioning themselves. And so often than not, I did come across this groups that people discuss questions from different interviews. Honestly, that shocked me. I'm like, oh, we were not supposed to disclose this, are we? But then they have a community running. They have like a Slack, open Slack where people are like, hey, I had an interview yesterday. These are the questions. And yeah, that was a surprise until I figured it out.
Great.
Very long.
Can you go back for a second and tell us the name of the conference? I missed it that you said you went to.
The Grace Hopper Conference.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Like for students, especially girls, women, uh, non-binary people, I think it's like a perfect place to go. This is like your stage. Another great takeaway for me from that conference itself is the mindset of how people very similar to me have advanced in their careers. And you can find role models, people who've done a lot more than you can even imagine. And it builds it builds a strong motivation for where you want your career to head to. So I definitely try and go every other year for sure. I know it's an expensive one. It's difficult to get tickets to and all of that, but I highly recommend. Probably like school, some people from our school also go regularly. I think from the business school they go
Okay.
more often. Yeah.
Something to explore. Okay, so I've got a couple of themes here before I let you go. And one is this, it's not all about just you sitting in a room, it's reaching out and talking. But the other one that I wanted to mention, I think you just brought up, which is having a sense of what it is you want to do. Having a sense of something. So often I hear from students, I'll do anything. And I'll say, that's not going to help you all that much because there's a whole lot out there. And that's not super appealing to an employer to get the sense that you're just willing to do whatever there is. So I love the idea of really, you have the right, you as a professional get to decide what you are excited about. And then you work the job search process around that rather than just saying that you're at the mercy of the job search process and you'll do whatever comes down the line. I really love how you said that.
Yeah, I really think that building that specialization and where do you see yourself a couple of years from now? What is that you want to do? What makes you happy day in, day out? That kind of motivates you in the long run. And you also want to see other people who are already there doing the things that you want to do, right? That's when the that's when it was an eye-opening experience. Like, oh, people are doing the things that I want to do. They're there. They went through very similar things like I did, and what did they do each time to get over the hurdles? Especially like after 4 years now that I have a child and everything, it has changed the way I think about all of this. Like, I want to have a career, then there's a lot more that I need to put in. It won't just come.
Right, absolutely. Well, Poornima, thank you so much. This was wonderful advice and insight, and I know that our students are going to love hearing from you and learn a lot. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.